welcome to Jews in Sports, presented by H.com and JI Foundation in support of the Climb for Life program, where we take kids with physical challenges through an actual Spartan race, changing not only their lives, but the people assisting these heroes. It's an incredible program. Please visit jifoundation.org, if nothing else but to comment, send these kids an email, motivate them on the greatest journey of their life. It is an incredible, incredible program. Please support us as we, try to impact others. I am your host, Michal Neuman. I am an elite Spartan racer. I have podiumed many times, competing in world championships. I competed on LeBron James' show $1 Million Mile, where I beat a pro athlete for $25,000 while wearing my yarmulke. And I am set to be on a future competition sports show on TV soon. Please follow me on Instagram, The Jewish Athlete. But again, more importantly, connect with me and the other incredible heroes at jifoundation.org. This series is like none other, where we take the biggest topics in the world and we delve into them with the perspective of Jewish athletes. These are the people that put themselves in positions every day in the sports world where you need to be able to train well, eat well, put yourself in big moments, and to be able to come out and push yourself to grow. Today, we doing things a little differently, but this guy is very influential in the sports world. Introducing Adam Neuman. Yes, he is my cousin. Couldn't get around that one. Neuman's spelled the same way. But what I like to do in this series is I like to switch it up a little bit. You have 60 seconds or a short answer to go right after the topic before we introduce you, and then I'll introduce you. The topic is being a leader, but more importantly, being a leader when everything is falling apart, and what we can do when things seem chaotic, out of control, and more importantly, when people are looking toward this individual to steady the ship, when we always think of the leader as this confident person leading from the back and whatnot, but these people do feel that pressure and have to take others with them when everything is falling apart. So if you want to answer that as quickly as you can, a quick stab at it, and then we'll delve into it after we go through who you are.
Sure. Thank you, Mikey. Mikey's also my first cousin. I don't know why he said cousin like I was like his eighth cousin, but first cousins, our fathers, our brothers. It's really cool to be here.
You also gave away that I go by Mikey. It's Michael.
Wow.
It's Michael.
Wow, it's Michael. So
my mom said Mikey's over, and it's time for Michael.
Okay. Mom knows best for sure. My aunt. Is she still my aunt? I don't know if things could change, but anyway, to answer your question sort of directly on, there's a great quote. I don't know who said it, but it talks about, captains during calm waters. And not that it's easy to be a captain during calm water, but it is an easier time when you're leading sort of, and things are all organized and things are going well. When things start hitting the fan and things are really challenging, that's when it's really hard to lead. And I'm fortunate enough to be part of a leadership team where people are really, really steady during these times. And even though crisis is coming in from an internal perspective, we're trying to lead sort of from the front and try and show that things are going to be okay. Things are going to be stable. The first thing that I'll say in this little 60-second segment to push out is over communication. And that's been the most important part of my job so far. I reach out to people on my staff daily to ask them how they're doing in their personal lives, how they're doing in their professional lives. This is a time where people need to be spoken to more than ever before. With quarantine, with shelter in place, people are feeling alone, higher, feelings of anxiety, higher feelings of depression, higher feelings of just mental health issues all around. I don't believe that our physical health can be good without our mental health. I know you as an athlete and performing and all the things that you alluded to on, LeBron's show and all the different things that you're up to, you need to have an elite level of mental health to be able to have a physical health. And that starts with human contact, human communication, and being there for one another. So I think leadership really starts right there.
It's an incredible thing, as also being a psychotherapist, knowing that you have to be able to be attuned to have people feel felt, especially when things are going nuts. Okay, let's delve into you in a sense of, I'll let you introduce yourself in more elaborate sense, but you have a very chief of staff at Big Ten or SEC, if you want to.
Big Ten, but the SEC is a great conference too. We'll take it.
The Big Ten, you literally are, changing policies, looking at things, leading the, college sports. And if you can tell us, your journey up to it, what the, and your
Sure.
position and what it entails.
Sure. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I was there for 18 years. I then studied in Israel for 2 years. I attended Yeshiva University for 3 years. And while I was in Yeshiva University, I was very active in the student government. And through that, I became close with the then president, Richard Joel of Yeshiva University. He was the 5th university president, I believe, of Yeshiva University's history. And through that, I developed a relationship and became his speechwriter for 2 years. And through that, I was allowed to attend board meetings for Yeshiva University. Now, the board meetings were interesting because usually the people that were allowed to attend were like, 50-year-olds or people that had made a lot of themselves. But because I was, 21 or 22 at the time, I was able to sort of like wiggle my way into meetings that even someone who was more senior than me couldn't get into, because it was like, oh, here's that kid like wearing like tighter pants and like being funny in the corner. Like he's allowed to be in like the meeting, taking minutes or taking notes. And it was there where I met Mark Wilf, who owned the Minnesota Vikings. And I used to discuss with him the possibility of, working for the Minnesota Vikings. He remained very open to it. He's a great guy, a big philanthropist and a big mensch, very, very active in Yad Vashem in Israel. And through Mark, he connected me with Kevin Warren, who was the chief operating officer of the Minnesota Vikings at the time. I interviewed. I scored a legal internship after my first year of law school at the University of Pennsylvania. I was there for 10 weeks. Very challenging environment, Jewishly in some respects. I was in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. There are no Jews really in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. I would eat lettuce and granola bars, and Shabbos was, an hour away in St. Louis Park. Sometimes I had to just be alone for Shabbos in a $36 motel room. And it was hard, but it became, you talk about like your yarmulke, and I would say that like for me, it became almost like a calling card. Some of the players used to call me like the lettuce kid. They thought it was the funniest thing in the whole world that, I would be like in the cafeteria eating with like world-class athletes, and like they'd be like pounding really great food, and I would be sort of just sticking to my guns. And my boss at the time, who was the chief operating officer, he noticed this little intern hanging out with the players, getting along with people, really strong with his convictions, and he saw it as a strong sense of discipline, which it is. And through that time, through that summer, I kept interning throughout law school. Got a job at a law firm after law school, stayed in contact with him. He became the commissioner of the Big Ten on June 4th of this past year, elect. He called me the next day, and my life whole changed from then at, 29, to be one of the younger sports executives in the country, and to be part of a mission with the first Black commissioner of a Power 5 conference, who recently was the highest Black ranking official in the history of professional sports on the business side. So to sort of be with someone with that kind of vision, and to be sort of that person's right hand, and to learn from their vision, and to be part of, a team of people that are really here. It's a real blessing. It took a lot of courage and a lot of grit and a lot of friendship from people. We spoke about over communication, and, a lot of support from my family and from mentors and people that really believe in you. I would tell you that one of the things I talk about a lot is, it's called a dream chuckle. Our boss talks about it all the time. And it's when you tell someone your dream and they start like laughing at you. And I always say that, like, he's told me that, like, that's when like you're getting a little bit closer to your dream. That's what Kevin Warren likes to say. He's the, the current commissioner who I work for. And the idea there is that, like, if you go up to someone and just say, hey, I want to like just do X, and they're just like, oh, that makes sense, then you're probably not pushing the envelope that much. So I can imagine in your world, you tell people I want to be a Spartan champion. I would guess a lot of people would just laugh. I'm being serious. I think they'd be like, what does it even mean? And I think it's really important that you got to get that confidence from somewhere.
I had my own family laugh at me when I
Yeah.
said, oh, I was a kid. I said, oh, I can do like ninja stuff like that. And they went, you're a Jew. You're not going to do not that. But, you're not going to do that, like 100%. What's the mindset? Do we attack or do we defend?
I think it's probably a little bit of both, but the most important thing right now is the safety and well-being of our communities. So to your point, we're trying to do a bit of both. Like, we're trying to mitigate and do the best that we can, but mental health, we didn't just announce the mental health and wellness cabinet in response to COVID. We've been working on that since last May, and we had our first meeting in December. And it's really terrific that, COVID has presented slightly more challenges. And it was great to, it's not terrific that it posed more challenges, but it's great that we're able to help more people during challenging times, rather. And it's great that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. But, we're going full steam ahead to the things that we can go full steam ahead on. So yes, we can't play football tomorrow. We can't play lacrosse. We can't do synchronized swimming, but we can help people. So to give you an example, our graduating seniors are all going to have calm for a full year after they graduate. So, and our incoming freshmen are going to have calm. So, that's the first of its kind to be really handing out free stuff, so to speak, for a full year afterwards. But that's how important, to your point, meditation, breathing exercises, any type of just something that can help with identity. For us, student athletes and athletes in general, and I'm sure you can relate to this, if God forbid you hurt yourself, you tore your Achilles, that would be very debilitating for you, for your self-identity. You view yourself, even in your introduction, which I thought was great. Like, you see yourself as an athlete because that's what you put your time into, your energy. That's what your God-given abilities are. That's what you have. It's part of who you are. And for a lot of these student athletes, you know, you go through your whole life being told you're amazing. I mean, you're playing Division I college sports, and then suddenly it's like, now you're an accountant. That's like a really big
Right.
difference.
It's a very,
So,
very good point.
so that's still happening, COVID or not. You know, we have 10,000 student athletes. Like, you know, people are graduating now and they're having identity issues and they're
So
having.
that's what this was in response to, in the sense that you literally go from being the guy
Yep.
and having the support from your teammates, the regular routines, and now psychologically you say to yourself, oh my gosh, what am I? You probably demean yourself. Even if you get a wonderful big job, you probably say, I should be.
You're hitting the nail on the head. Exactly. It's that question. What am I? Who am I now? Like,
Right.
I was just you're right. Even if you get this big job, let's say at a big accounting firm like KPMG or something, you're not sitting there high-fiving everybody. No one's smacking your butt after a free throw. Like, that's just not happening anymore for you. If they are, that's probably a problem in the workplace, but I guess that's just more decorum on the court. But, you know, the idea is that you don't have that support. Like you said, you don't have that level of, you know, that level of trust. You don't have that level of, you know, camaraderie and the collegiality, and that sort of is removed, and you don't know if it's ever coming back. In some ways it's not.
What is, before I ask the leadership question in connection to that, in a sense of leaders deal with identity crises, you know, they have to stay strong for others even when they don't feel good. I guess but also in connection with that, what is the general, because this is obviously an amazing idea and new, but it hasn't been done now, right? You know, no one's done a simple idea of doing a meditation app in the transition, you know, that, you know, encourage. What is the what's the temperature of mental health in sports and college sports, if you know that, or in big companies or in big atmospheres where that would be overlooked?
I think, unfortunately, I mean, I think you're alluding to exactly what the issue is. I think it's a silent epidemic. I mean, what else can I say? When you break your arm, you go to the doctor, you're 9 years old, let's say, you put on a cast, and your mom's like, go get this signed by everybody, and everybody's excited. No one like takes their Prozac bottle and like walks into school and like gets that signed. Like, that doesn't happen. No one's like, here's my therapist, like, this is what's up. And that relates more to stigma than anything else. One of the projects we're super proud of is at the University of Wisconsin, one of our member institutions. They have a new program called the Green Bandana Project, where you go to basically sign up at like an hour lecture where you learn a little bit more about suicide. They give you materials and brochures to keep in your bag, and you put a massive green lime bandana on your bag. And what that does around campus is it signals to anyone who's in any type of need that that person is willing to talk to you, knows a little bit about the topic, and will guide you to the right place. Because not everybody can, you know, speak about suicide effectively, as you probably know as a therapist. Some people would be really bad at it. But what it really does the most is break down stigmas, because then people say, what's that lime green bandana? And they say, well, there are people that are really struggling with mental health issues on campus, and I want to show people that I'm a resource, that I'm someone that cares about it, that I identify with their issues. So I wish there didn't need to be a green lime bandana project. That's the way I like to say it. Like, I wish that didn't exist, that there's no green lime bandana project for broken arms or torn Achilles. There just isn't. But for whatever reason, there's this notion in American society that like we should like grit our teeth. I don't know where that mitzvah is in the Torah, but like it seems to like exist. Like we should like grit our teeth. We shouldn't get help. We shouldn't have meds. We shouldn't have therapy. We shouldn't, you know, talk through things with a friend. We shouldn't do exercise. Like, there's so many, you know, variety of ways to sort of to help yourself with many mental illnesses. But I just, for whatever reason, it's still stigmatized. It's still not easy to say that I need help and raise your hand on an emotional level. And but we're trying, you know, we're trying to do our best. And that's why, you know, it could be that other people gave out an app before, but there's never been a dedicated system of humans. And now we have 31 plus giving out Calm. And now we have so many different ideas. We have monthly meetings. We have subcommittees on education, on student athlete input, on technology, on policy, on government, an executive team. Like, it is really legit. It's filled with psychiatrists, psychotherapists, student athlete advocates. Student athletes are joining now. College advisors, senior women administrators, faculty athletic representatives, presidents. Like, it's trying to collect all the different voices to basically say, like, this is a major issue. How are we going to battle this issue? In my opinion, Michael, I think that's what we're calling you now. I think it's the number one issue going on in sports, and maybe honestly going on in this country, is mental health issues.
I mean, you're talking.
Yeah, I'm preaching.
You're preaching to the choir in a sense that my therapy is very much, I combine sports and movements.
Love that.
Where I can open up and use the dopamine and the chemicals in your brain to then do psychology and the interventions in a more effective manner. But there is in our society where, by the way, Torah speaks about it. I can't remember the story. Shlomo Sprung had said it once, but where he was sick and he couldn't get up, but it wasn't talking about physical. It was talking about he was in a dark place. It was light apparently wherever this is in the Gemara, wherever it was. He brought it from. He was depressed, and it is a very much connected. I mean, I'm not going to go so psychoanalyzing, but it is a lot to do with your identity and such, and it's such a wonderful, incredible thing to attack that. And my question comes to you what's the leadership to say, here's an issue, no one's done it, no one's come at it with force. A lot of people probably say this is not where we need to spend our resources.
Correct.
Lord, hey, what are you doing, dude? We need
Correct.
to be, focusing on making money now or whatever, that's.
No, 100%. And you're hitting it on right. Like, even when you bring up these topics, people still question, say, like, why are you spending your money towards that? Why are you spending so much time and energy on a topic like that? I think I was blessed to be in a position with someone who had a traumatic experience. The commissioner was hit by a car when he was 7 or 8 years old. He was in traction and a body cast for a year or two. He was told by all the doctors he wasn't really going to walk again. Long story short, he ends up becoming a Division I athlete, basketball player, walking again. And the story he tells, and it's really heartbreaking, is that during his entire time in the hospital, not one doctor ever asked him how he was feeling, ever. Right. Internally, they asked him how his leg was. They asked him how his back was. They were nice to him. They didn't, but no one had ever asked him, like, what is wrong with you? Like, how are you feeling on the inside? Like, this is very damaging to you. So, I think that experience is something that he carried with himself and understood as, like, this is a real issue. And like I said, you want to let your audience tell you what the issues are. And I'm telling you that whatever campus we went to, whether it was Indiana, or whether it was Minnesota, whether it was Iowa, and we sat down and spoke to student athletes, all of them would tell us about ranging from all sorts of things. Like, my girlfriend dumped me. It's really hard to play today. I'm having like real issues, and I think it might be brain chemistry related. I might really need medication. I've had anxiety my entire life, and now it's really, really acting up. Identity crisis. Like, I'm not an athlete anymore. I just tore my Achilles. I can't play the whole season. I'm not with my friends. I'm not with my team. I feel so inadequate. I feel like I'm not good at anything anymore. Who am I? I've never done anything else. Like, mental health ranges, I would venture to say, and I don't want to be presumptuous. You're the therapist and the doctor here, but I would venture to guess the mental health relates to everybody, and no matter how severe it is or how not severe it is. I tell people all the time that as it relates to me is it's not always just like you're in crisis mode. A lot of people talk about mental health like, oh, like you're in a really bad place. And that's true. But sometimes you just need really good mental health to like nail that internship like that I had, to then impress someone, to then get the job that you want. Like, you can't do that unless you're at peak mental health. If you're feeling super down, or you can't get up, or you can't engage, or your personality isn't with you, or you're not forming the connections, or you can't make the eye contact, or your body's not flowing the way it should be, you're not going to be able to be successful or as successful as you could be if you were feeling good. So, I don't like to focus too much on just like someone's really down in the dumps and it's a real issue. Sometimes you have to just worry about like, well, you got to be at peak performance, And I think LeBron talks about it on his app, On Calm. He talks about like meditating, like in the middle of like, game 6 of an NBA finals. Like, that was what he was doing. He didn't need like, a muscle rub or a stretch. Like, he needed to focus.
My main, finally, where I broke through my whole life, I've always got so close to breaking that ceiling. And I had 5 fourth place finishes in Spartan one year, and I just couldn't get on the podium. And my race that I finally broke through was literally being in the same pain that I'm always in. I took one deep breath. I started talking to Hashem, and I started saying, just using my mental health and saying, this sucks. Pain is pain. And it didn't feel like pain anymore. And the point is it's very missed by a lot of people, is that you don't have to hit rock bottom for there to be a problem, not a problem, for there to be a growth. Before you get to rock bottom, you have the ability to stop it. Why wait for rock bottom? If you know you're getting there, if you know you're going to hit there for sure, you should definitely say, I don't want to be there, so let's work on it now. You don't have to wait for it. And that's, I think, a fantastic point that people very much miss, especially with identity changes from college to career, to moving on, to maybe feeling like a failure. I didn't make it to where I wanted to think I was going, and now I have to be out in the world, and you're giving them that wonderful transition point. ending on this question and this answer, what would be your advice to a student athlete who comes to you and says, I'm not feeling well, or not feeling well, whatever it is? What would you give them for that transition point for the mental health? What would you say to that person that you should do to be on your path to, in this time period? You know what I mean?
I think you really need to build people up, and I think that in a generation where there's just so much negativity and so much cynicism, and trust me, there's reason for it, for a lot of reasons. We live in a society where anytime you want, like, you could post this on YouTube and people can say, look at these two idiots in the bottom of the comments, and people can just like rip on us and say whatever they want. It's easy to do. It's easy to turn on the TV. It's easy to listen to the rabbi's speech on Shabbos and say all the terrible things he did and all the times he said, and how he didn't talk to this person enough and he didn't mention this person and he wasn't respectful enough. And I don't think that's typically the answer of how to get people through issues and how to get people through tough times. Some people do need tough love. I don't like to restrict things. I don't say the word always or never, but I think that the more that we can communicate with people, be open about them and support their strengths and really explain to them why they're valued and why we care about them and why they should care about things and why they can really make a difference on the smallest level. We talk all the time about the conference, about the concept of sending the elevator down. And everybody always says like, the elevator's all the way up. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Your elevator doesn't need to be at the penthouse for you to send the elevator down. Like, if you want to help someone, you could help someone every single day. You could be in a supermarket, you could lift your knee up and you could like knock through a cereal box and help someone grab that cereal box on the top shelf.
Smiling at a person changes everything. That's it. It's the simplest thing. When you walk on the street, hi, then you move on.
Hey, how are you?
That's it.
How many times have you been, I mean, this is just personal, but I'm sure you've done this too. How many times have you been running and someone like waved at you in the middle of like a tough hill and it just gave you an extra boost to get through that like last half mile? You know what I mean? Just like they just made you feel good for 10, 15 seconds. I just think that's got to be the priority. And that's obviously a Jewish priority. It's got to be about compliments. It's got to be about telling people we value them. We have to look people in the eye and tell them that you love them and that you care about them. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do those things, but sometimes you have to be unabashedly happy and just, look at people and say, hey, it's great to be around you. It's really fun. This was a great time. Thank you so much. These are the kind of questions we need to be asking more in quarantine. These are the kind of things we need to be saying to each other more. So someone in trouble, someone in transition, we got to make them understand that all the qualities that make them into a great athlete are the same qualities that make them into a fantastic human being.
Beautiful. And we're going to end it on that because that was gorgeous. And in a sense of, again, for whatever the reason, whether it's our own egos or whatever, life is about me. Mm-hmm. And if you truly want to be happy, it has to be about others. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. It's something greater than yourself. It's connecting with Hashem and being able to say, this moment is not about me. It's about, Hashem.
PJ Flex, the head coach of Minnesota football, he told me that family, Family, forget about me. I love you.
That's beautiful. Oh, it is. And by the way, it's interesting. I spoke with Adam Rawatsky. Biniswati. He played for the Giants. He was Jewish and such. And he said that it was so interesting that the locker rooms are very much revolved around family.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people don't think. They think it's like, this chaotic man thing or whatever. But, when you come together, when everyone has a mission and you make it about love and you make it, coaches realize that. You make it about something greater than just yourself. It's about the family, this team, and people and those values. You can achieve great success.
Yep, I completely agree.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Again, please visit, especially after this conversation, with the heroes at jifoundation.org, because these kids go through hell and back every single day. So please go on there and support them as they go on this journey. Thank you so much, Adam. And see you guys.